Good evening, everyone. Magandang gabi, and welcome to Accenture webinar on building blocks. This is a webinar for building and creating a value-based ecosystem through blockchain. This session will be recorded. If you feel uncomfortable being included in the recording, you may drop off from this call. You may post your questions anytime in the chat window found in the right hand of the screen. And should you want to post anonymously, just tick the post as anonymous box found below. So again, welcome to this webinar. Just to start, a couple of weeks ago, we had the Blockchain 101, and I hope that some of you have attended that. And I just wanted to reiterate three things before we go on to this technical deep dive into blockchain. I want to remind you of the blockchain design aspects. So there are three that I mentioned in the last blockchain webinar. The first one is trust. So before we think about blockchain use cases, building blockchain or building a blockchain infrastructure and ecosystem, we should think of trust as one of the design aspects. Trust meaning, have you thought about why blockchain? Why not a simple database? If we are to compare that, you can imagine having an Excel spreadsheet, and if you're building a platform, would you be comfortable sharing that spreadsheet across your friends and then trust them that they will put the right value, the right amount in the spreadsheet? If not, then it could be a potential candidate for a blockchain application. The next thing after trust is that when building blockchain applications, you should think about the ecosystem. So blockchain is not an application for one. It should be an application for many people that we can bring together through the value of trust. So you should think about who are the partners, who are the friendlies that can test the application and can bring value with the application that you will create. And value is the third design aspect for blockchain. Because of the trust, the ecosystem, and the partnership that you will create, what value can be driven or can be drawn out of this application? This leads us to the common applications of blockchains in the past. So in the past, typically government would use blockchain to create a trusted ecosystem built on voting because there's multi-party systems, you need a system of trust, and there's value in making sure that everybody can validate and ensure that their votes have been casted. There's also use cases for government on digital ID, and I think we'll hear more about it because of the COVID situation. So blockchain could be a good potential for digital identification because that will allow a trusted application on a distributed platform and it will create new value. In the industries, we also have use cases on payments. Payments is one of the initial use case that was brought out by having a trusted ecosystem platform using blockchain. And in this session, we will give you a very simple use case in supply chain. So just to set expectations in the next 25 to 30 minutes, two of my colleagues will talk about the technical architecture required to build a blockchain platform. We will share with you a very simple chain code or what we call smart contracts in blockchain. So very simple coding, instructions, and reference materials on how you yourself can do the blockchain installation and build your very first block in blockchain. So hopefully you'll enjoy the next 30, 35 minutes. And I won't take so much of your time, but I want to hand you over to one of my colleagues, Henji Mantaring, who will give us an overview on the technical architecture for blockchain. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Henji, and I'm one of the technology architect in blockchain capability here at Accenture Philippines. So tonight, we're going to have a discussion on a basic tech arc, and later we'll show you a live demo of the simple blockchain application. So before we start, let me first show you a real-life problem scenario. So this is our problem statement. So our problem statement for today is the tuna app supply chain. So in the tuna app, we needed to have a monitoring of our tuna shipments. So we have three challenges that we wanted to highlight. First, we wanted to highlight the transparency. So there are over exploitation of fish stocks everywhere, especially in tuna. And this resulted to illegal and unregulated fishing, to the lack of mapping and also monitoring. So the other thing that we wanted to highlight is provenance. So we wanted to have traceability from bait of the fish up to the food served to our plate. And we, as a consumer, we would like to be able to monitor who, where, when, and the tuna has been caught. So if the fish I'm eating is fresh, is it legally caught, and then the last one is sovereignty. So in sovereignty, we need to have a capability of an application to have a self-control mechanism that could eliminate third-party collision. So using that three problem statements, we'll now show you a solution flow. So from this solution flow, as you see in the diagram that we are showing to you right now, we have created the consortium of our multi-party systems. So from the consortium of this, we have identified five possible stakeholders. So there should be the fisherman, the supplier, the factory retailer, and the consumer. So by adding the blockchain capability, as you can see in the bottom line of our diagram, we could resolve transparency by creating an immutable ledger across the multi-party systems, creating a single source of truth. So we could also have a better traceability, since we could monitor how the tuna has been handled from the fisherman up to the consumer. So, and since the blockchain has the ability to automate the control of our assets, we could use smart contracts or business logic. So by using this one, we could have a privately agreeing on terms and different parties' interaction, but still maintaining the transparency over the stakeholders. So, and these are also the reasons why we need to have a blockchain solution rather than just using a database. So by integrating blockchain, we could have data resiliency in a tamper-proof environment with a single point of failure and the possibility to eliminate third-party risk. So since we already created our solution flow, let's us proceed with the Strawman architecture. So in the Strawman architecture is just basically creating a diagram wherein we will able to lay out and plot all the necessary tools and technologies that we wanted for our application. So as you can see on our diagram, there are different layers on this one, but they are all similar layers that we are using when we're creating a simple web app. But one additional layer has been added when we wanted to have an ecosystem with the blockchain. So that is the DLT platform, the one in green in the middle. Let's first focus on that part of the box. So in the DLT platform, we're going to choose our blockchain platform. So we have a lot of choices in terms of blockchain platform. We could go with Artricorda, we could go with Hyperledger Fabric, we could go Room. But for this demo purposes, we just choose to go with Hyperledger Fabric. Since with the Hyperledger Fabric, we needed the permission blockchain that has the smart contract or the business logic capability. And then the next one is that we need to choose our smart contract. So in the smart contract of Hyperledger Fabric, you could go with Golang, you could go with Java. So in this side, we go with the Golang. So this smart contract encapsulates all the assets that we wanted to go. So the asset on our side is the tuna, and we could encapsulate that asset and business logic. So modifying those assets through transaction invocations result to change of the data in the ledger. So Hyperledger also, so we have decided with the blockchain platform, the smart contract language that we'll be using, the data services for Hyperledger Fabric, this default to CouchDB as well. And then next, we go with the infrastructure service. So if we go with the bottom diagram of our architecture, we want to go with what are the infrastructure services that we wanted to deploy our DLT platform. So if you wanted to deploy it in cloud services that are currently available, we could go with AWS, Azure, IBM Cloud, also Google Cloud. And since Hyperledger Fabric has a containerized environment, we could choose and prompt with the Kubernetes infrastructure. And then next would be, since we already know where to deploy our DLT platform, we could go with our presentation service and our integration services. So we could go with Node.js, we could go with Java, C Sharp, and then we could also have integration with existing systems that we have. We want to go with the ERP or any existing applications that are already we have already created. So the integration service and the DLT platform can be connected through APIs. So the passing of values is already created from the DLT platform side. And then next would be we could go with the presentation services. So as mentioned, we could go with the Angular, we could go with a mobile application, we could also go with IoT devices, we could create QRs, could create barcodes, and then you could be able to connect to our we could successfully connect to our DLT platform. And then the next one is security services. So we have the security services and the DevOps services. So for the security services, on this one, we prompt with HashiCorp Vault, wherein we could store our secrets. So when we are trying to connect from our DLT platform, since it's a permission platform, you need to have certain keys and secrets wherein you wanted to store it securely. So you could go with HashiCorp Vault, and then for the DevOps services, you could go with pipelining with Jenkins, and also we wanted to share to you the blockchain automation framework. So the blockchain automation framework is an orchestrator wherein you will be able to deploy your DLT platform from Kubernetes, and you could have it easily deployed to your Kubernetes service. So this is all the the one that I've shown you is how to try to lay out the whole architecture of blockchain network. So it's similar to creating a web app and just added another layer, which is a blockchain layer. And now, for the next part of our webinar is a demo of Ray for the simple tune app that you could also try at home. Ray?
Hi, I'm Ray. I'm a senior developer in the blockchain capability, specializing in Hyperledger Fabric and RT Corda. So for the next few minutes, I'll be presenting with you the Tuna app demo. So please take note that for different platforms, we have different ways and different installation guides. So the Tuna app, it uses Hyperledger Fabric to utilize smart contract capabilities. So as mentioned by Henshi a while ago, we try to use Hyperledger Fabric to utilize smart contracts or business logic. So these smart contracts are executable that are installed in our nodes. So next, when you want to try this at your home or in your local machines, before building the app, there are some prerequisites that will be installed, and we will be sharing it with you offline. So this includes Docker for containerization, Go language for our smart contracts, Node.js and NPM for our integration services. So for the demo, we already clone the Tuna app in Git, and we already bring up the network to pre-install some necessary images. So as you can see in the screen, to build the Tuna app fabric network, we use the link to clone the Tuna app. And to bring up the network, we have to run the shell script. So now I'll now proceed with that. So I will be going to share my screen. So now, as you can see, I'm sharing two screens. On the right side is our backend. We use VS Code or Visual Code. So this acts as the terminal in order to show us the backend service. And on the left side, on the left side of the screen is the Tuna app UI. So for this, we will show you how the user interact to blockchain by using the add and query functionalities. So before I proceed, let's go to the backend service. I'll just show you the command to start the or bring up the Fabric network. So for this, we use the start fabric.sh. So this is the shell script that will bring up the network or the Hyperledger Fabric. So it will pull Docker images, then creating channels. After creating channels, it will start the Fabric Hyperledger Fabric. So this takes time. So we already installed it and run the command. So it takes about 8 minutes to run this and to complete. So as you can see, there are no errors encountered. So in order to check that the Hyperledger Fabric network is up and running, we have to run the command docker ps. Okay. So with this, this is the different components of the Hyperledger Fabric. So it is important that the containers are that the status of the containers are up and running. So in case that you encountered some status that
Hello, I think we lost Ray.
Yeah, we lost a Nep or
Yeah,
John. Can you or Henry? Can you jump in?
yes. So this is the we're showing you the instructions on how you will do it on your own terminal. Of course, we will share with you the requirements. So one of the requirements, of course, is a virtual machine wherein you can download the Docker image and then run the app. So blockchain, Hyperledger Fabric has already made it easy for us to download the latest version, explode in our own environment so that we can start up a blockchain ecosystem or blockchain application. And I think Ray was just showing you how do you, after starting it up for 8 minutes, how do you determine if it's up and running? Henji, any other thoughts or reminders on how do we start blockchain?
Yep. As you can see on Ray's screen, she's actually using Windows, but since Hyperledger Fabric is using in a it's more comfortable with the Linux environment, so we tried to first install the VM with the Ubuntu, the preferred one to go with this Fabric, and also if you're using Mac, so you don't have to have a risk in terms of the installation and technology restrictions as well. So what Ray is actually showing to us is that she will actually go and demo the I'm just opening the video. So this one is actually a simple application of TuneUp. So it has 4 functionalities. The first one is that you will be able to query all the tuna catches from the ledger. So when you click the query all button, you will be able to get all the data from from the ledger and give us all the details for our tuna catch. So um, that includes the time it was caught, who caught the the tuna, what is the boat of the fisherman who caught that one. And then since you would be able to record that one in the ledger, we would be able to also, on the demo app, we will show you how to add a, a simple, an added transaction to our ledger. So we will try to add one tuna catch, and then we will show you from the front end side when it was when we added the tuna catch from the front end, up to the ledger from our blockchain layer. And then once we've added that one, we will also show you the query all again, and then we would be able to show you how it was being added to the layer. And then let me so maybe to visualize this one, we have a video ready as well. So if we have an issue, can you see my screen? So if you can see my screen, um, as you can see, as mentioning by Ray, we have included all the Hyperledger fabric. We would be able to pull all the needed images, and then we'll show you all the commands, the created, and the different components for Hyperledger fabric. And then, as you can see, you could also, we have highlighted the chain code, wherein we are showing to you that chain code is actually executable. So it could be coded, and then once you have coded that one, you'd be able to install it to our nodes, and then it could create the business logic that we are talking about. And then, as you can see, we have exposed APIs as well. So those API, we have exposed IPs and ports. So if you're trying to develop for this instance, a tuna application, if you're trying to develop that one, you just need to input all the IPs and ports that we have indicated on the right side, which is on the back end, and then we try to put that one as a configuration from our Hyperledger Fabric Tuna app. So this, the one that we are showing to you actually is that the four main functionalities that we are trying to do. So you could query all the tuna catches. So it includes the timestamp, the holder, the catch location, and the vessel. So this is all the data that we have in the ledger right now. So if you will go with the backend, as you can see, we could show you the successfully loaded part. We could also give you all the query, and then it's basically trying to connect from the front end to our smart contract, wherein we have already defined that we could actually query all the necessary details that we wanted. So next one is that we're going to create a tuna record. So by trying to create a tuna record, we're going to go with the catch ID, go with the name of the vessel, longitude, latitude, any gritty details that we wanted to go. And then once we push that create button, it will connect to the blockchain layer on the other side. So this one in the back end. And then as you can see, we have actually submitted a tuna catch to our blockchain layer. And then it's already included to our ledger. So if we want to check that one again, so in this one, so it's a query all tuna. As you can see, another record that's been added. So that one is the added data from Ray itself. So it try again to connect to the smart contract, connect to the blockchain layer, and then try to to fetch all the data needed. So we could also have one specific, we could also have one functionality wherein we could specify the tuna catch. So for this one, so if we want to specify three as the holder, so for example, if you're a consumer, you wanted to you know that this is the catch number, and you wanted to know is my tuna, who catches my tuna, where had been catched, who's the vessel who actually caught this one. So you could go with that functionality. And then the other one would be the change tuna holder. So if example, the fisherman already lived, and then the vessel actually recorded as part of our Hyperledger of our blockchain record, and then we wanted just to make change the name of the holder, you could also do that one as well. So if you want me as the new holder of the fisherman, so you could change that one, and then so it's already recorded to our blockchain layer. So that would also, so as we mentioned, all the record is immutable. So every change of every change of owner is also recorded to our blockchain network. But since we could also try to have a way to check all the history of that ID as well, and also check who is the recent owner of as you can see, it already changed from Rafa to Henji. So I think that's all for um, our demo for the Tuna application. And we will also be sharing to you a YouTube video wherein you'll be able to appreciate how this Tuna application is being related to real life. So this one is an actual video. You could it's already posted in YouTube. It's publicly available, and on that video, we will be sharing to you how Tuna application and creating an asset from a blockchain ecosystem already changed our life as well. So that's all. Nep.
Okay, Nep, NG, Agus. Nep, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So again, thank you for that demo, Henji and Ray. Hopefully, you were able to get back Ray on the call for some Q&A. But what you've seen is a simple application of blockchain in an enterprise system wherein you have multiple nodes connected. It's very simple right now, and we just wanted to show you that you yourself can actually do it, whether you have Windows, you have Mac, and we've provided the instructions also on the Meetup site. So you can check back after this session for the commands, for the installation instructions. Just to go back to what I said earlier before we started this session was that as you can see from the Tuna app, it was made, the use case was built on trust because we needed to trust the application so that we know without a doubt where the fish or the tuna was caught. So blockchain is as good as the ecosystem technologies also that it partners with. So you can imagine in the future, when you catch a tuna, then you put a tag and there's IoT that will put data on the blockchain. Kasi we need to make sure that all the data, you kanina, what you've seen is it's data entry. Pero if you want to build enterprise application, we have to minimize data entry so that we can minimize the distrust function. So that's why we use IoTs, we use all the other technologies, sensors to put data in blockchain so that whenever somebody queries it, we know that it's not written by human, it's actually written by machine, IoT or sensors. The next one is ecosystem. So in the Tuna application, the value of having it on blockchain is that it's from catch to fork. That's one of the use cases. So we know exactly when it was caught, where it was caught. The value for having a smart contract there is we can define in the business process that if the fisherman goes out to, let's say, beyond the safe borders of yung fishing, then we could probably deduct points to the fisherman or probably reduce the cost of the fish because he went outside the standard fishing perimeter. And again, those things, the fisherman cannot, I mean, with properly architectured blockchain, the fisherman cannot cheat because once they put the IoT device or once the sensors are there, when they catch the fish or if they take picture, then the metadata will take care of the location, the timestamp, and siguro yung weight and size ng fish that was caught. So minimal fraud will be introduced into the system by doing that. No? Again, there's ecosystem wherein when it goes from the fisherman down to the manufacturing, to the distribution, to the grocery, and to your plate, you know exactly that when you buy a fresh tuna, it was caught 2 days ago or one day ago even. And if you're very conscious about the environment and wants to make sure that that fish was caught by environment safe certified fisherman, then you can also trust the blockchain to show that, because as what Henji mentioned, all the trails are listed on blockchain. It is immutable, it's tamper proof, meaning that even though they'll update the data, you can see the progression of data. You can build a system, yung kanina, you've seen the query all, but you can also do a query per transaction, per fisherman, and you will see the whole history. And nobody is, yon, since kanina you've seen that there's no database, diba? So there's no DBA required. And if you share this data across the nodes, then it'll be replicated. So it'll be impossible for somebody to delete it on its own. And because of the consensus mechanism, it'll just be rejected by the system. So again, in a perfectly architectured blockchain, tamper-proof is one of the main qualities of blockchain. So in kanina, it's very simple. And then of course, the value. Again, we've been seeing new values being unearthed or discovered because of this trusted platform and ecosystem. In the past, it's not even possible, diba? I mean, if you get a fish, a tuna, and then you'll get a listing in Excel or a website that tells us that this is a certified tuna or mackerel. It's fish. It was caught siguro approximately 2 days ago. Then it doesn't give you enough value. Right now, we're seeing, let's say, for example, for coffee. Um, Coffee beans are being harvested on, let's say, a risk-free environment. And we can now see new products getting premium prices because we're now able to trace it. We've been seeing this as well on high-end restaurants. So let's say the beef that you order, if you're ordering a high-end meat, you will know exactly where in Japan it was harvested, when it was shipped, and that's why you're paying extra for the beef or the meat, because you can trust that it's fresh, it came from a trusted source, and you're eating a healthy, organic, fully organic beef. So again, these are the types of values that can be unearthed using a trusted ecosystem. Of course, it's not limited to supply chain. Finance has started to use blockchain long time ago for payments, because you can easily track where the digital money goes from one person, from one hand to the other hand. So hopefully that gives you a good idea and why we picked this use case, very simple use case and very simple application and architecture on blockchain. Again, that's blockchain. We call it the technical architecture and basic coding for blockchain. It's the building blocks for creating new value in blockchain. So that's it. Anything to add or good?
Yeah, Nep, thank you so much, Nep, for that good summary that you provide for our webinar today. There are some questions that we want to ask also to Henji and to Ray. So Henji or Ray, there are a lot of Hyperledger blockchain products like Fabric, Indie, and others. What are the differences for this one? If maybe you can highlight some differences.
Yep. There are a lot of, as mentioned, there are a lot of Hyperledger blockchain products. So different Hyperledger products, different ways to consume them. So for example, for Fabric, Fabric is the most flexible in all of the Hyperledger products that we have, because in Hyperledger Fabric, you could create your own asset, wherein you could be able to go with it based on if you want to go with the healthcare side, if you want to go with the supply chain, you could create a value from that one and make it your own based on the smart contract that you're developing. So if we go with Indie, Indie is mostly focused on identity. So there are also like Sawtooth as well. So different Hyperledger blockchain as well. We do have different consensus types. So different ways to actually create a blockchain. Different ways to have a consensus and create a block.
Okay. Thank you, Henry, for that answer. Another question here coming from Mark. What will be the tech art design looks like if the tuna supply chain use case will be done using R3 Corda?
Yeah. So as you could see, when we created the Hyperledger the tech arc blueprint on the Strawman, it actually it's the same for all across all Hyperledger across all blockchain platforms. So the design for the difference on the design is based on the platform that you are looking at. So it's a difference on type of the blockchain layer itself. But if you're looking at on the one that we have showed you, it's still the same for all across all platforms.
Okay, thank you, Henry. I'm reviewing all the question here, and our moderator already answered majority of them. Nep, any additional items that you want to add to wrap up the discussion?
No, I think so. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Henji. I think one of the things that we have to remember when thinking about blockchain is the use case. So it's first the use case and then the technology. So that's why Henji was alluding to that there are many forms of blockchain. If you want digital identity, then Hyperledger Fabric may not be the best platform for that. It's the Hyperledger Indie. If you want to use, let's say, peer-to-peer blockchain, then R3 will be a good example because R3 has done peer-to-peer blockchain. As you can see, Hyperledger, medyo ano siya, medyo it's really designed for initial understanding. It's very open. A lot of open source documentations and pre-built programs already built on Hyperledger because it's very easy to install. There's no license fees as well. And you yourself can actually build your own very simple blockchain solution using Hyperledger Fabric. So yun yung entry point. We've done Ethereum before, pero Ethereum is more on the yung public blockchain, so for crypto. But if you want to, let's say, a permission blockchain, the very first application you may want to try out on is on the Hyperledger Fabric. So it's very easy, it's accessible, and there's a lot of forums out there that you can use so you can build one. To
Okay.
Andrew's point, R3 Corda, yeah, I mean banks nowadays, or well, when we started, because Hyperledger is public, diba? You can query, etc., etc. Hyperledger Fabric has built-in channels, but if you want a more secure blockchain, then you can use the R3 Corda, but R3 Corda has license fees. So, pero it's peer-to-peer. It's one of those platforms that we used for, let's say, interbank transfers, because even if we're on the same platform ecosystem, we can capitalize on peer-to-peer transactions. So if I'm paying money to Leo, Henji will not be able to see it, but it's still registered, transacted on blockchain, so that the properties of blockchain were it's secure, it's tamper-proof, it's accessible, and it's the smart contract is distributed. We can still capitalize on those benefits even though we want a peer-to-peer transaction. And of course, there's more digital assets. It's one of them. And if you hear, so go to the latest blockchain platform being sold out there is in BSN platform, which is China proprietary naman, China proprietary blockchain platform. So there's a lot, but again, go back to the use case. Am I building a blockchain because I fulfill the trust, ecosystem, and value, or can I use a simple database or an Excel spreadsheet for my application? So still goes back.
Okay. Yep. There are additional question that was published, Nep and Henchi. So one of the question here is, how can you apply blockchain on a big traditional supply chain companies with already huge databases?
I can probably start to answer that because that was one of the questions a couple of years ago. So we are not replacing databases. So one of the misnomers is that when you have blockchain, you'll get rid of your database. So it's not. It's kasi yung database mo for the supply chain, yung SAP, you cannot replace those with blockchain. As you can see, it's there's no database in the application. Yung Tuna app kanina, it's a file-based content system, di ba? There will be latencies, more latencies on blockchain versus a database wherein you can optimize, tune it based on indices, table structures, child tables, child records, etc. So it's something to think about. especially when you're designing the blockchain platform. So it's only a small component. So in multi-party systems, you only share the information that can benefit the rest of the ecosystem partners. Kaya hangina, if you're one company and you want to use blockchain, you replace your supply chain with blockchain, baka it's not the right solution. You have to think about a small component. So what we've done before is that SAP has 300 plus tables or 2,000 tables. We only want to share the logistics table to other logistics companies so that they will see exactly what is put in that table real time. So I see what you see, or they see what I see. So we're only sharing that small table into blockchain. So that very small component is the only component we're putting into blockchain. The rest of the applications can run in your enterprise systems. So again, think about it. It's not, blockchain will not heal the world. It will not remove corruption. It will not reduce the enterprise systems, but it can augment them so that we can now share the data on a trusted platform with uh, common enemies or common friends, diba, in the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, Nep, for that answer. Go ahead, NJ. Yep.
And also just to add that to that question as well. If you look at to my Strawman architecture, you can see that there's a label on that for integration services. So as you need to have some integration from existing. You could go with integration with the system huge database that we have, but in terms of actually trying to put on our blockchain layer, we are not actually we are not going to put all our data in the blockchain layer. What we are going to go with that one is the way to control our data. So that's all.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you, Henji. Okay, I think we already answered all the questions that was published on our Q&A board here. So we encourage everyone to actually participate with our mentee for the survey that we have. So the mentee survey code that we will be using is 357377, which will be published also on the chat board. So we will be sharing those information, and we love to hear some of the um, feedback that you want to share with us for this specific session. Nep, do you want to wrap up the discussion?
I think this is it. So thank you again, Leo, Henji, and Ray for presenting. We hope that you're able to learn something, or at least caught a small nugget of new information about blockchain. If you want to try it on your own, again, you've seen how it goes. You've seen how the installation, the architecture. Um, we will put some of the materials on the Meetup site, so you can download and feel free to play around the blockchain. That's it. So again, please answer or go to the Menti. Would love to hear from you. If you want a more deep dive, full blockchain development hour, just let us know. But we would love to hear from you. And again, thank you for the organizers. Thank you, Arvin, also for organizing, and Louis, our producers for tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Mhm.